I just dealt with this on a live stream on my Here's the Deal channel, but just because it came up on the screen, Columbus, Ohio police executed an individual. They didn't execute a search warrant like it says here. They were supposed to execute a search warrant, but they ended up executing an individual at 2:30 in the morning, shooting him in his bed. I'll just play some of this. I will stop short of the actual shot that took this man's life because I don't want to get a strike. But you'll see that according to this body cam footage, the man in whose house they were in, he was 20 years old, clearly had nothing in his hands. And what do you expect when you open the bedroom door of an individual as you're rummaging through his house? You should expect a pushback. You should expect that somebody's going to defend their castle. They're going to defend their family. If they have a firearm, they're probably going to try to use it. But watch this.
Knocking him up.
Here, we'll lock him up. Here.
Radio, come get another car.
Here. You want to watch them? Or I'm just now worried that the back door.
No.
There's two windows. Another AC unit. The last one.
We're gonna send that dog in.
Okay, this next door that they open up is the bedroom. You'll see this guy in the bed. I'm going to try to freeze frame it before they actually fire. But the guy who actually ends this guy's life is not the guy with the body cam, but the guy who's holding the dog.
Hand.
Okay, now he's got his finger on the trigger. He's pulling the trigger in this frame right here. The pressure is on the trigger. The bullet goes into this guy. The guy loses his life. I'm not going to show it to you, but man, this is horrific. Executing a search warrant. Well, like I said on the Here's the Deal channel, weren't there other options? Couldn't the police think outside the box and go, okay, we're after this guy. Apparently there was a domestic abuse charge and mishandling of a firearm. Okay. So if there was a domestic abuse charge, if he really did attack somebody and, beat them or whatever, then he did create a victim, which means he committed a crime. But how do you apprehend the criminal? How do you bring him to justice? Is it a good idea to go to somebody's house at 2:30 in the morning, putting your officers' lives in danger, putting the homeowner's life in danger? Or couldn't you just wait until he wakes up, has his breakfast, drinks his coffee, goes out to go to work or whatever he's going to do? He's got to eventually leave his apartment, right? So instead of costing somebody their lives, they could rush him out on the street and catch him unaware. If he truly is a criminal, and that would be just, because if he committed a crime, he needs to be brought to justice. But couldn't they have done something else other than go to his house at 2:30 in the morning and kill him? If you want to take a look at this, I put it up on my Twitter feed. Just follow me, High Impact Flicks at Twitter, and the link will be there. You can watch the rest of this. It's a minute long. We're only 27 seconds into this. I can't go any further because this platform will probably not think too kindly on that because people are sensitive. But it wasn't, it's not blurred out or anything. So the next frame is him catching a bullet in the chest or wherever they shot him. It's very sad, 20 years old. I thought this was hilarious. When people meme this kind of stuff, it's just right on the nose. Man who accidentally left 300,000 guns for the Taliban gives lecture on gun control. Did you catch the, I don't have a clip of it right here, but I saw a couple clips of this anti-gun speech he gave yesterday. I think it was 20-something minutes long, but he was basically saying, hey, you can't mess, what are you going to do with your AR-15? We have F-15 fighter jets. Yeah, that's exactly the point. It's like the president of the United States is threatening people who don't want their guns taken from them. We don't want the government to point their guns in our face saying we can't have AK-47s, AR-15s, and standard capacity 30-round magazines. But if you resist what the government says, Joe Biden's government, well, he's going to threaten you with F-15s. What are you going to do about it? That's exactly why the common man needs to have access to F-15s. You don't want the government to have firearms that you don't personally have. You want to be able to defend yourself with the same kind of technology. That's a perfect case for, no, we don't want the government to be that powerful. We don't want the government to exist at all, but we definitely don't want them to be powerful enough to launch F-15s and Apache helicopters in the air to, target us with their FLIR devices. This was something I saw and didn't really verify, but it looks like a snapshot of a computer screen. Underneath this, it looks like it might be, is that Is that an Instagram post? That looks like it might be an Instagram post. I'm not sure. It looks like it is. It says Test Bank for Global Studies taking the pejorative, quote, science denial and gaslighting students into thinking it's an actual academic term so they can fall in line and not question, quote, the science. And look at this question right here. Which of the following is an example of science denial, they ask. These are multiple choice questions. If you can see my cursor right here. Arguing that Darwin's theory of evolution is no more than a theory? Resistance to vacations? Calling CC a HOAX? Or all of the above? And it doesn't have the option of none of the above. So you either pick one or you pick all of them, which is classic politics and politicians and being politically correct. Because basically they pigeonhole you into a box to make one decision or another when it's probably the third decision or the fourth decision. They don't give you any kind of options. So you would have to leave this blank. If you believe that all these things are not something that you should check off, and especially the all of the above, then you would get the answer wrong, but you would actually be right. It's interesting how they try to, give you a false choice. Here, let me give you a false choice. This is going to help us in our pursuit of science. This test bank right here is going to give you, it's like a false dichotomy, a false choice. Very interesting. I wouldn't trust that poll worth nothing. And I don't know if you know this. I saw this on Twitter, but they only gave half the story or part of the story on Twitter. Why are New Yorkers getting carded to buy whipped cream? I didn't even know about this new law. And they're not outlawing, they're not saying that you need, the tweet that I saw was you have to be 21 or older to buy a can of whipped cream. I don't think that's right because of what this article says right here. The state passed an age restriction on the sale of Whippets last year. A Whippet is like this CO2 cartridge. It's not, I don't even think a Whippet has, it could have whipped cream, but I think it's just it's something to whip cream with. It says leading to a misinterpretation of the law by some stores. It says the New York state law intended to prevent teenagers from abusing nitrous oxide by restricting the sale of whipped cream chargers. It's a whipped cream charger. Has turned into a mess and not the whipped cream based British dessert. Says the legislation began making headlines last week after grocery store shoppers complained about being carded simply for buying canned whipped cream. So you know what this tells me? This tells me that store shop owners are scared in the state of New York to step out of line, so much so that they misinterpreted the law and won't even sell whipped cream to people who are 21 years and older. And if you're going to buy it, they're going to card you. That's how scared they are to disobey the politicians because they don't want to get charged and have their businesses closed down. It tells you everything you need to know about the fear base, about operating on that low resonating fear base, and you make stupid decisions and you do stupid things because now you just became an order follower of the government. And now the state senator behind the law has spoken out to say it's being incorrectly enforced. People of all ages should still be allowed to buy whipped cream. But you can't buy, I don't even know if they overturned this, but remember you couldn't buy anything over a 32-ounce soft drink. It's for your health. And let me just reiterate, of all the tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims. This is good for you. You don't need that 32 ounces, and I agree. You don't need it, but you also don't need to be outlawed. If you want to put something into your body, it's your life. If that's consistent with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for you, drink your 32-ounce sugary drink that you can pour on your battery post and get rid of corrosion. Go ahead. Fine. Do it. But these senators are like, no, we got to control you, but it's for your good. So a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. The law which bans the sale of specifically whipped cream chargers to anyone under the age of 21 was originally proposed by State Senator Joseph Adabo in an attempt to, as he described it back in October, quote, limit the access to the sale of Whippets. These chargers, which are replaceable devices for whipping cream dispensers, contain nitrous oxide, also known as laughing gas, which can be inhaled for a short-term high and are often abused. And they are often abused, but you know what? That's dangerous freedom. If your kid's that stupid, Let him be stupid. What is that? Natural selection or whatever? Sorry, he didn't learn from life and he's been weeded out, but you don't need a politician broad brush telling everybody what they can do and everybody what they can't do, just because some people among us are so stupid they can't even tie their shoes. Used whippets piling up in our communities are not only an eyesore, but also indicative of a significant nitrous oxide abuse program, this guy says. This law will help to protect our youth from the dangers of the lethal chemical while helping to clean up our neighborhoods. The law took effect on November 25th of last year, but didn't seem to be enforced out of the gate. I think that there is some sort of reporting mechanism that just didn't go the way it was supposed to, says this guy right here. But over the past month, something odd began to happen. Reports emerged of shoppers being carded simply for buying whipped cream. Can you even imagine that? Carrying whipped cream to the checkout counter, and they're like, well, I need to see your ID. You need to see my what? I need to see your ID. I'm not buying fentanyl. I'm buying a can of whipped cream. Yeah, we got to card you. What law is that? You got to be kidding me. I'm 42 years old and you're carding me for whipped cream? Yeah, I'm sorry. It's the law. Got to do it. I'm an order follower. I just do what I'm told. I don't make the rules. I just enforce them. It's like John Candy. Oh, sorry, park's closed. Moose out front should have told you. Remember that? Chevy Chase's Vacation. Who's the moosiest moose we know? Marty Moose. Who's the star of our favorite show? Marty Moose. M is for Mary, where Mary you see. O is for oh gosh, oh golly, oh gee. S is for super swell family glee. E is for everything you ought to be. MARTY Marty Moose, Marty Moose. That's me. I don't know if you guys remember that. Babe, you remember that?
Now I do.
We need to find that. Somebody find that clip. That is the most hilarious clip, especially when John Candy comes out and goes, sorry, park's closed. Moose out front should have told you. And they had this sign taped to Marty Moose out in the front of the theme park.
How many whippets have you had, babe?
How many whippets?
Have you had?
How many whippets does it? I don't know. I've had a couple and it's illegal. I shouldn't admit that. Back on August 10th, Albany's News 10 posted an article asking, did you know you have to be 21 to buy whipped cream cans in New York State? By last week, the growing story had reached the tipping point with the news of New York's whipping cream ban landing on local, national, and even international outlets. So it was fake news. Fake news was spreading like crazy. Moose out front should have told you. I thought, what's going on? I was looking at my cart. What am I being ID'd for? I was so confused, said Megan Massey, a woman shopping in Watertown, told NBC News. I was mortified. I tell you. Let's see. You got to see it in a New York accent. I was mortified. Why am I being ID'd? What's going on right now? I'm 43 with gray hair. Similarly, WRGB Albany reported on a handwritten sign in a Stewart's Shopping proclaimed, did you know effective 8/12/22 we will be IDing for whipped cream must be 21 years old. But just as the start date of the new law apparently wasn't clearly communicated, the rules of its enforcement were also misinterpreted. Can you imagine being a cop and getting caught up in the fake news of all this kind of stuff and then seeing this 18-year-old checkout girl not IDing somebody, some 45-year-old guy for whipping cream, and then arresting her or giving the guy a citation or whatever? Sorry, I didn't make the rules. I just follow them brainlessly. I mean, I really am involved in cognitive dissonance, and my ability to think outside the box has virtually evaporated. Though canned whipped cream does contain nitrous oxide, the ban was only intended for the replaceable charger cartridges, which are sold independently of the dessert topping. My bill is not intended to prevent people under age of 21 from buying whipping cream dispensers, but the small individual charger or cartridge inside the whip. I made a law and you guys didn't follow it properly, see? Whipped cream charger. Let's see, the term whipped cream charger shall mean a steel cylinder or cartridge filled with nitrous oxide. That's how ridiculous laws are, and that's how unnecessary government is, guys.